This should be a review. So just to be clear, we're in 1.7. Let's get to 1.6. All right. Oh, by the way, I guess these are QR codes. If you scan that, I think it comes with some little video. It's not me, some other.
It's another teacher.
Some other goofball there. I probably won't like it.
Another male teacher. Probably
won't like it, but anyway, it's there. All right. I should change it to link to my video. That's what I should. I don't know how to do that. Okay, so exponents are basically just repeated multiplication, right? So in other words, if I have like some number x to the nth power, it just means x times x times x dot 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 times x n times, whatever n is. If n is 3, it's x times x times x, right? X cubed. Okay? So let's take a look at these in the first exercise. So write out what it means, okay, and then find its value. So 2 to the 4th really means what? Yep. Equals 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, right? And you use your fingers, right, to figure out, so what's 2 times 2?
4.
Times 2.
8.
Times 2. 16. Okay, use your fingers if you want. 16. And part B, 3 squared, that just means what? Which is 9. Simple enough. 5 to the 3rd, 5 cubed. 5 times 5, which is 5 cubed. Okay? All right, exercise 2. They want us to write these out. Now we're doing x's and y's and such, okay? So x to the 3rd really just means what? 3 times. Now x squared y to the 4th, yeah. Oh, what did I do? Jeez.
Yeah, I was so confused.
5 times 5 is 125. 5 times 5 is 25 times 5 is 125.
I was going to ask you, but I didn't think
Okay. No, feel free. Just speak up if I do something goofy like that, okay?
What's the 1.5 and 6?
Let's get to 1.6.
Okay.
And we're in 1.7 now. So 1.5 and 1.7 will be doing 1. So this one would be x times what?
X times
Y times y times y times y, right? Okay. What about part C? It'd be what? 2x times 2x, so basically each one inside, right? I could do it as this way, couldn't I? Right? Or I can do it as 2x times 2x, either way. Okay? Now what about this one? Careful, careful, careful. Is this 4 going to the 4th power?
No. X times X.
Right. You would need parentheses for that to happen, right? Okay? So really this is just 4 x times x times x times x, 4 of those times what? Yeah, jeez. See? X times what? Okay? Now how about this part E?
9x.
9x squared times 9x squared. Or I could just apply this exponent 3 to the 9. Right? Times what? X squared times x squared times x squared, right? But then we can expand that out even farther, can't we? Times what? X times x times x times x times. Okay? So you see what happens when you have the parentheses out there and the exponents? Okay. Now how about part F? -4 times -4, right? Square that. Those I'm using parentheses, right? Okay? Times what? X cubed times x cubed, right? The x cubed squared. And then we can expand that out a little more, better leave some room here, right? So it's -4 times -4 times what? X times X times X, that's one of my X cubes, times the other one. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
If so, it's all like the C and D. If it's 4x to the fourth power, it's just 4 times 4 x's.
The exponent is on the x, not
Yeah,
the
the exponent's without parentheses around the 4,
Okay.
right? The exponent's not connected to the 4. If so, your instinct was to kind of treat it like that. In that case, then you would, right? Okay? That's a good question. Let's move down here. Exercise 3. Write them out again. I don't think we have to do this too many times, do we? Okay, so I have x squared times x to the third, right? We know that's x times x times x times x times x, which is actually x to the what? 5th power. Hey, where does this 5 come from? Adding those. One more time. I'm growing tired of it. This would be x times x times x times x times x, my x to the 5th, right? Times my x squared. But it's actually x to the what? Where does the 7 come from? 5 plus 2. You getting the idea? I'll bet this one would be actually x to the what? Okay, so we might have just stumbled upon a rule for exponents here that maybe you knew. Let's go to the next page. So here's an exponent rule based on that last exercise. I'm going to throw another one in here too, based on the last exercise. If I have x to the a times x to the b, that's actually x to the what? A plus b, right? We added the exponents and we multiplied them. A plus b, whatever they are, right? Okay? As long as they're both x's. So that's when you're multiplying with exponents, right? There's also a power to a power, which we did a couple before. Rule. Which I wish they would have put in here. If I have x to the a power, that whole thing to the b power, what do you think that becomes? X to the what? So when we multiplied them, we added the exponents. What do you think it's going to do here? X to the what? A times b. Yeah. So this will be x to the a times b. Okay? So make sure you kind of know this one too. All right? All right. So I should make this fairly quick here. Let's do exercise 5. Now we don't have to write them all out, right? What's x to the 4th times x to the 9th? X to the what? Easy enough. Okay, all of these would be x to the what? X to the, looks like 9, right? 9th power. And the last one? Y to the 8th power. This is pretty simple, right? Yeah. Okay? All right, let's go down here. So the steps to simplify the product 5x cubed plus 2x to the 7th. The simple form shown below. Write what justifies each step. So we start with this problem, right? I think you're in pain when you make those noises. Okay, so what did they do here? What property? Remember our associative, commutative, and all that? What property did they use here? Where they moved the 5 and the 2 and the x's. They moved it around. It traveled. It traveled.
not associative. I forgot the name.
That's right, not associative.
I don't know.
Commutative, right? To commute?
That was, isn't there commutative?
Nope. A lot of people say commutative, but it's commutative, like to commute back and forth and move around. Commutative property of what? Multiplication. Symbol. And then they kind of regrouped them in parentheses. What property was that? associative, right? They reassociated them. So the associative property of multiplication. And then finally, what? Perhaps it was one of our rules up there. They did a power times a power, right? Or exponent rule. All right, let me go back and rename this one. We'll call this power times a power. Okay, and that's what they're looking at down here, right? Power times a power versus power to a power. So we'll just call this power times a power. All right? All right, real quick, let's wrap these guys up down here. So now you kind of have a sense of it, right? Okay, let's multiply these out. Let's start with the 2 times 8, which is what? 16, and then x to the, careful. It's not a power to a power. 12, right? So x to the 12. When you multiply, you're just adding the exponents. Okay? Now we got parentheses here, right? Well, it's not really anything to distribute, right? It's only a single term in each one. So it's negative 4 times 2 is what? Negative 8. X to the 5th power. There you go. Now we got a power to a power, don't we? Now, don't forget the negative 6 will get squared too, right? So that'll be, let me just write that down. Negative 6 squared times x to the what? What do I do with these with a power to a power? So x to the 6. Now we multiply, because that's power to a power, right? But what is negative 6 squared? Positive 36. X to the 6. Okay? You made it. So, seems like that's a little bit of review for you. Okay? They're not too complicated. So, due tomorrow morning is 1-5 and 1-7.